Hello, welcome to this video. As titled, this is kind of a behind the scenes live examples, I guess, that I'm going to offer going along with this Deconstructing Distortions new series that I've just started. I thought it was a great idea to just offer out here a very candid, very honest offering, of my own deconstruction, of my own distortions. And what does that really mean? This is going to change every time. And I think the homework, my own homework, and if I choose to really do this or not, and share this or not, we'll see. But I thought just now, what the heck? Let's try out offering these sort of subsections to go along with the real episodes where I have the terms and talk about ways in my own life that I carry distortions and that I'm working through them and what that really looks like in plain language. And sometimes maybe, I don't know what these videos are going to turn into. But let's just go with it and see what happens. So if you haven't seen the actual one, I just have one episode up so far for this series. And I have some video podcasts that go along with it, which are like brainstorming sessions, talking about sort of before I'm going to be giving these episodes. I did a similar series and setup with Comprehending Consciousness maybe a year ago or so. That was one of the first kind of mini-series projects that I offer on YouTube, or I did back then when I started my channel. And that's for beginners, and newly people waking up, terms and phrases that people bump into all the time that are super inflated. And I wanted to, deflate them a bit for them and say, well, yeah, wait a minute, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here, right? And I did 40-something words of that, and maybe I'll continue on more of them. I never really closed that, but I need to be mindful of my time. I know it's 7 o'clock now. Meaning to say that this is the second gear, the second class or whatever of that same idea and the same sort of setup and the same gist, but it's for the adept, it's for the eternal student that I feel like I'm becoming, and that I want to offer out to others who are on that path too. I don't know where you are, who you are. I'm sure plenty of you already are a part of watching my videos and channels because, we are seeking each other. This is the time. The calling is again. And I feel it stronger than I felt it and knew it was a calling back 2016-ish. I knew something was going on, but I didn't connect the dots yet. But now it's so loud. Everything is so clear. For a lot of us it is, right? So now's the time that, I'm going to take this to the next level and speak to those of us who are ahead of the curve with me, who've already kicked around the ground. We already have seen the duality, played with terms, understand the role of the observer, understand that we're seeking truth here, that we want harmonious solutions for all sides of the spectrum, for the good and the bad, for the bad guy and the good guy. We've all seen enough movies and watched enough Disney things and seen enough Marvel movies or whatever you call them, with the bad guy isn't really so bad after all, we're not so different, you and I, that kind of thing. It's morphing now. We've come to, a new stage. And it's, I don't want to get too caught up in everything else because I want to talk about my own personal distortions and breaking through these things. But this is my truth of where we're standing at now, so it really does matter. And it's applicable to what we're going to talk about. But coming to this place of accepting that duality has its points, its roles, it's a tool and mechanism. It's part of the filters, the slices of many layers of the pie that this multidimensional happenings here is. And it's, it's not just an end all be all. It's not a single thing. It's many parts of, and you can look across any sort of time, culture, traditions all over the world and histories and see how duality, or the idea of it, is built into a tradition, and it goes along with some certain of their laws, and there's many of them, and they're all apart, and there's a harmonious thing happening, and it's still all one. Many of us are coming back around to this now. It's so big, it's snowballed so much that, unfortunately for the negative, they can't really corral it anymore. The secret's been out. Like, everybody's like, duh. And so for those of us who are, right, because there's some who are not, but whatever. For those of us who are, this sort of Deconstructing Distortions series is what I'm creating, where we can talk about words that take a while to get through, and took me a while to get through, to understand the complexity of them, and then to bring back what's the real truth, actually. Because again, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Same thing as comprehending consciousness, but in a different angle of perspective, and a different gravity and atmosphere that it happens in. In this level, I really want to be able to speak with those of us who understand that, and who can kind of do that without the triggers and without all of the thorns and bristles kind of getting at it. We can appreciate the rose of the whole total of the cycle, the thorns, the petals, the seed, the bloom, the blossoming, bud, and the full bloom, and the wilting and the dying, and the after cycle as well, and then the rebirth and the return, right? Things are cyclical, and that's what we really truly understand more when we come to this next level, and we start looking at it. We've peeled back this sort of distortive, opaque layer to the information of truth underneath, and now we're seeing more clearly. And that's what I really love about the word distortion, and sort of the visuals that come up with that, and understanding how it is, it's such a strange truth, but it is a peeling back, of peeling off of lies, unlayering to down into what is the truth, which is clearer down there. And what actually is down there is actually more. It's more in depth, it's more fuller, there's more definition, more pixelation, or whatever. Points of discovery are truly what it is, right? There's more points of discovery in there for us to choose to go in there and explore or not. But you have to have the removal of the confusion. You have to get through the entanglements of the distortions, and the ripple effects that those things cause, and the many-layeredness of it, in order to ever get through there. Otherwise, you get caught in echo chambers and distortions of mirrored mazes, right? Metaphorical and literal, energetic and physical. This is for those of us who understand that there's a game here, that there's a walk to walk, and that it appears different to each of us, and that it changes as we change, and that all of the metaphors are correct at the correct time, and that if they're incorrect, it doesn't mean they're bad or wrong or never applicable. It just means that they're not correct at this point in time, this coordination of the flow, because there is a gross body flow and movement that's larger at each, gets larger as you dive in and go out. It's a mirrored reflection, which is also can be very confusing to those who haven't woken up yet, because they think they need to go farther away to get to something, when in fact it's deeply inside you, and there's nowhere to travel to. But creator consciousness in the birth of this physicality and the exploration of manyness, we have decided so amazingly to want to play out that seeking in a physical manner, and to create a what if we did choose to have these parameters, structures, and settings. Then what would we do through if we had these? However, they're actually constraints that we have made for ourselves as the observer. And so we do have the ultimate choice to back out and then reset the settings. But you have to be able to get out far enough that you're the controller, that you're the observer. You can't be down in first-person view. You can't be in third-person mode, stuck in a Minecraft kind of oversetting view of you're still in the game, And here, inside the game or inside life or the, the beautiful whatever, that this creation that God has created, as I like to see it. I don't like to kind of dumb it down and compare it to artificial intelligence like a game. I think that's a 3 times removed replication of it. That's a through telephone game where you played as a kid and it's gone through the whole chain of friends. It's very distorted. There's a likeness and a truth to it and a wanting of that, but it's not it. It's not the original message that was at all. And yeah, that brings us back to distortions perfectly also, and just back to my point that I could actually stay on track here and stick with, which is sorting through your own distortions and coming to these conclusions for yourself and for myself. The honest work and the true seeking, of what's my truth, what feels true to me, and why, alongside, the wanting of my highest good and the wanting of that which is of my highest good, and all those around me, really helps to iron out distortion. And as it pops up throughout the day, or as all these sort of catalytic moments, disruptions, interruptions, scenarios and situations, like as everything is presented to me, I am able now to more consciously hold a space and present moment that allows me to listen and think and stop and ask myself, is this really promoting the highest good for everybody involved right now? And the mechanisms of doing that, the practice point of actually doing that, sort of led by almost, higher self inside there. I like to see it usually as like the queen inside my heart center, the throne room castle that I build. Talk about that in the energetic systems kind of talks and stuff. But I like to see her as a great guidance in that, but also in conjunction with the bosses that I see, mind, body, and spirit bosses, who really play a prominent role in my, most of my workings throughout the day. I see a great, and I can hear conscious guidance, and it's almost like the first person view of me has an audience, but it's supportive, and it's not an audience either that I feel I have to put a face on for. I have to, it's an external other, that there's this kind of judgment or a frequency of this external observation that causes me to feel in a myriad of different ways, right? And there's so many different ways that this is different, because these are personalities of myself. These are echoes and reflections that I've created within myself of me. And I have spent, years on those, creating those conversations and a space of communion within myself and with those others, but they're a different type of internal extension of other, great other, and not an external extension. Having those reference points in general is a great tool on this, quest of eternal student teaching. And I love the feedback. I love the momentum created that I get from utilizing conversations with them, and having ownership that I do honor them, and that I do consider them to be a part of me and real. And I do take that internal time. Because before it was like, oh, I kind of knew that. And before there was this, I've always been an introspective sort of person anyways. But to create that organic, positive type of distortion within myself has been very beneficial to the overall workings of my whole system, of me, of my enjoyment of my life, of all the interactions that I go through with so many different people in my days and in my life. From my direct family, my sons, my husband, to people, my coworkers, my bosses, the people that I interact with where I live, um, and in communities that I'm involved in, and interactions on the internet, even people that I never even get to meet face to face, but that I still have a great relationship with, or even random people, that you just see in the store or on the street or whatever. The depth of communication and also the awareness. Sorry, it's like such a chilly morning here where I am. My fingers and my hands are very cold. My bones are like creaky. I feel this next, step in the eternal student is really also honoring teach learning in its full cycle, which means speaking with others and sharing with others and connecting with others. And again, I kind of started off the video by saying that this is the time for us to be reaching out and speaking out. That's why I'm taking this series and my channel and everything into this next sort of angle, not to be excluding of others, or even to try to prop us up and to be like, oh yeah, we're, anything different than them, because there's such valuable information still, and I still find myself a beginner in many different ways. Which is, why I didn't ever close that either, But there's a great quality in being able to look through yourself clearly and have clarity and discernment, and have also tools and malleable working troubleshooting techniques, I guess, that you've already sort of sorted through in your inner world with all, and built up strength with, that when you go to interact with others, it's so beneficial and helpful. And also, it's a great reminder that there's a diverse archetypal, makeup and imprint to each person. Each other individual is just as multifaceted as I am. There is just as much shifts and changing and diverse thinking happening inside of me that's inside of everyone else. And that brings me again to this sort of unfolding of ironing out distortions within my own life. And coming to that great acceptance is so huge. It's such a large wholeness to it that it's really taken me years to peel back the layers to see, wow, each one of us is this sovereign, capable, eternal consciousness. And each one of us has the right of ownership to that. Privacy and perspective are divinely set by Creator, by the great observer, by whoever has set up the entirety of this experience. The greatness, the whole system of this reality bubble, basically. You could call it universe, multiverse, whatever you want to designate that as, being a part of here and being in it and being alive and awake in it, right? That shows that you are worthy of it, I guess. And therefore is sort of the agreement with each other that, okay, you're allowed to be, and so am I. I feel that having that as the sort of blanket statement is the only requirement, really, and from there on we can build out and off. And it's sort of the same as the one truth, being that we are all of whole oneness, of the singular thing before, a birth of Creator consciousness, and that everything after that one truth of the whole before is a distortion. Now, things can be distorted positively or negatively, and things can be distorted in an organic way, and they can be distorted in an inorganic or artificial way. And what does that mean? Well, we can think with imagination, and we can come up with things originally, or we can copy and build things artificially. And so that in itself sort of is a place setting and a role for each of us to immediately begin on, or immediately have in front of us that we can choose to start with. And that in itself is infinite and can take lifetimes and lifetimes. So I've sort of gotten around, and I'm already at 20 minutes, and I didn't want to go over. And I didn't really, well, I did. I gave great examples, sort of, but mostly I talked around about a bit. But what I would like to just really sort of say as the major point is that this is a very difficult thing to talk about. It's very personal, and with that comes, of course, greater distortion. So if we agree to always seek what is or feels to be our truth and right for us at the moment, we can't go wrong. There's a feeling, and I've taught this a lot about the truth meter, or walking on a tightrope, or seeking a harmonious balance between, feeling this inner core, the connect, feeling plugged in, or a light. You know, you'll feel tingle, you'll feel goosebumps, you'll feel a spark or a flame. Sometimes I call it eternal flame in here in the inner core. Sometimes it's a feeling of ignition of the well of sovereignty in the heart center. You know, you can call them or just designate them anything you want to. You don't even have to use my phrases. I'm just speaking and designating them in things that I know are reference points for my teachings that I've received in my own. I hope they're helpful to others to finding their own, not to going and pinpointing theirs to mine and saying, oh, I have to find that because she said that's where it is. That in itself is the distortion. The truth is the offering of manyness, and then us to find what harmonizes with us at this time. It is not to go and meet what's already been given. And that is kind of the distortion I really want to bring forth and talk about in the video, and, you know, say, you know, I've been working through the last few months on maybe, 4 months about, you know, or 5 months, this true unwrinkling and understanding that my own teachings are for me, and that it's about always doing what I feel is the closest thing to my own rightness in the moment, and how difficult that really is when you choose to be honest with yourself. You know, it's wonderful, and I've been doing it in small chunks and shadow work for years, and but truly coming to it as a continuous working, moment to moment, and trying to live in that, and honor that to yourself, and interact with others, and be a part of days, and do all the things that come up in an honest way, is, I can see and I can fully understand now how lifetimes of work, when they say 25,000 year cycles of long-term recycling needed. All of a sudden I'm like, wow, I get it. Because some it is so monumentous, whatever. It is gigantic. And just my single one role as me in my lifetime, the things that I can get done and I have, and then that I would and might and am able to, that in itself is limited. And yet in its limitedness becomes unlimited. Yet again, when I choose to see myself as an unlimited creator being, I am, and yet there is this organic limitation on what one person can ever do, right? It's a beautiful partnership and promise, I see, to letting us know that our person is purposeful. Our first person view, each one of them, the manyness and the millions of them that they are, and the billions over time, it really is purposeful, and it really does matter, and the distortions are carefully laid out to be learned from, and that they do happen for reasons. And so when I come up against obstacles, when I come up against things that I don't want, or things don't play out exactly as I saw them or wanted them to, it's so much easier for me to breathe into that and remember, actually, I don't have higher sight. I can't really see further down. They did come out as I wanted to, as higher self, as God does want. The best of the whole body's movement is. Perhaps it doesn't feel that way to me right now in my limited mindset, but to remember and have faith in that limited mindset, and to rearrange my infinite imagination to make it feel better, to find a harmonious way through, to find what feels good for myself and everybody involved in this tiny present moment, because we're diving down from a higher God source, greater mind, a bigger view, in an eagle's eye view, diving down into an ant's view down on the ground, right? And those views both are so different, and yet they have great purpose. Neither can really understand and grasp the concept of what a day means to each of them, but each has their day, and each of their days matter, right? And I love that teaching I received, many times over and over again, the metaphor, so many different ways, of even of us being the body, and of God being a body, like a big body like this, and the cell of me, my thinking is just one little cell in the heart, and I'm of that God's body, and of such a different consciousness, and of such a different experience of life, and what I'm meant to do, and what my reality's made of, and what my jobs are, and what I'm allowed to see and be a part of. But I'm no less a part of God than my heart is a part of me down in there. I need you very much, heart. I love you. Keep being beautiful, magical vortex that you are. I don't, and this is an agreement as well, because I, as my Alley View first person here, I don't have full consciousness of what's really in there and going on in the heart center. And then the heart is the organ, it's the heart center, it's energetics, it's electric, it's magnetic, it could be static, it's so many different things. Is it a pump? Is it a vortex? What's it doing in there? And now we have so many different ideas. And not to say that I pinpoint anything, and I've spoken many times about the fact that I don't appreciate dead science and old things, to try to pull a heart out of some corpse and then try to look at it cut up into pieces under a microscope and then say, oh yeah, we know about a heart cell, this is how it lived its life and beat, this is how a living heart works. You have no idea. You're looking at death under a microscope. But that's about it. And that's going to be about it for me. That's my time, so I'm going to have to really wrap it up there. Thank you for listening to me ramble for like a half an hour. Went way too long. I hope you'll join me next time, and have a beautiful day wherever you are.